In the ancient town of Karun, where the red earth felt the footsteps of ancestors and the talking drums echoed the voice of kings, there lived a prince. His name was Adebayo. He was the first son of the Oba, the heir to the coral-beaded throne. From the moment he was born, Adebayo was wrapped in fine silk and bound by prophecy. The palace diviners had looked into the future and declared, "This child will rule with wisdom, but his heart will be tested by love." The Oba, his father, accepted these words, confident that destiny would naturally unfold within the secure walls of the palace. But destiny, much like the mighty river Niger, does not always follow the path drawn by men. Beyond the grandeur of the palace gates, in the bustling heart of the town, lived. She was a commoner's daughter, raised by her widowed mother who sold beautifully woven mats in the marketplace. Zainab's beauty wasn't the kind you could carve into ivory or hammer from gold. It was a living, breathing beauty that resided in her boundless kindness, in the easy way her laughter would fill the air, and in the quiet, unbreakable strength of her spirit. Every morning, as she worked, she sang. Her voice, pure and clear, carried like a gentle prayer over the colorful stalls of peppers and kola nuts, a melody of hope in the everyday hustle. It was in that very market that the prince first laid eyes on her. Adebayo, seeking to understand the people he would one day rule, had disguised himself in simple cloth and slipped away from the palace. He wanted to walk among them, to hear their stories, to feel the pulse of their lives. And then, he saw her. Zainab lifted her eyes from her work, and they met his. In that single suspended moment, time itself seemed to pause. The prince, heir to a kingdom, forgot all about his crown. The commoner's daughter, who knew only a life of hardship, forgot all about her poverty. Love, uninvited and unexpected, had found them both. Their meetings became a treasured secret, a world they built for themselves beneath the sprawling branches of the old Iroko tree. This was a sacred place, where lovers of old had once sworn their oaths to the earth, their promises witnessed by the ancient wood. There, away from the watchful eyes of the palace and the judgments of the market, they were simply Adebayo and Zainab. They shared stories and whispered their dreams into the twilight air. Adebayo spoke of his vision for the kingdom, a realm he wished to rule not with an iron fist, but with unwavering justice for all. Zainab, in turn, spoke of a simpler, yet profound dream, a life where a person's dignity and character mattered far more than their station at birth. With each secret meeting, their love deepened, weaving their two worlds together. But as their connection grew stronger, so did the looming shadow of tradition. Tales of Karun were rigid, etched in stone, and passed down through generations. A prince could not, under any circumstances, marry a woman who did not carry royal blood in her veins. It was a rule as old as the kingdom itself. The Council of Elders, the keepers of these sacred traditions, went to the Obawar. With grave warnings, they spoke of the ancestors, of their potential wrath. To break this tradition, they cautioned, would be to invite their anger, to call down a devastating drought upon the land, withering the crops and drying the rivers. When the Oba finally learned of his son's forbidden love, his heart was torn in two. He was a father, and he loved his son, but he was also a king, a custodian of his people's ways. As summoned Adebayo to the throne room, the weight of his crown heavy on his brow. Love is a powerful force, my son, the Oba said, his voice laced with sorrow. But tradition is the very spine of our people. Without it, we crumble. The prince was then given an impossible choice. He could abandon the commoner and accept his destiny to ascend the throne, or he could renounce his birthright, walk away from the palace and lose everything. His title, his name, his future as king. That night, as the moon cast long shadows across the town, Zainab knelt before the small shrine of her ancestors. She did not pray for riches or for a life in the palace. She prayed for clarity, for the wisdom to know the right path. She loved the prince with all her heart, but her love for the kingdom, for its people and its prosperity, was just as deep. She could not be the cause of its ruin. And so, as the first light of dawn painted the sky, she made her great sacrifice. Quietly, without a word of goodbye, she packed her few belongings and left, Karun disappearing like a morning mist. When Adebayo discovered she was gone, a profound grief broke him. The world he had built with her, the future he had dared to imagine, had vanished. He felt a hollowness, that no crown could ever fill. With a heavy but resolute heart, he stood before his father and the council of elders. He refused the throne. "A crown without love is not a prize," he declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "It is a burden, and it is one I will not carry." In that moment, a strange thing happened. A tremor ran through the earth, and the diviners, who always had an answer, fell silent, their cowrie shells still. Then, from the back of the chamber, the oldest and most respected priest stepped forward. His face was a map of wrinkles, each line telling a story. He spoke words that had been long forgotten, a piece of lore buried under layers of newer traditions. "Destiny is not always inherited," he said, his voice surprisingly strong. "Sometimes, it must be chosen." He went on to reveal a hidden truth, an ancient prophecy that had been overlooked. But truly flourish when a ruler learned the profound lesson of humility through a love that transcended bloodlines. The elders were stunned into silence. The Oba's eyes widened with understanding. A search party was dispatched immediately, and Zainab was found and brought back to the town she had fled to protect. People of Kairun gathered in the great square, a current of excitement and uncertainty running through the crowd. The ancestors were honored with new rites, celebrating not just the past, but the future. And so, the prince married the commoner. The land did not suffer. There was no drought, no famine. Instead, a new era of prosperity began. The rains fell when they were needed. The harvests were bountiful, and a spirit of unity settled over the kingdom. Adabai became king, with Zainab by his side as his queen. She ruled not with the authority of gold and jewels, but with a deep compassion that flowed from her heart. She never forgot her days in the market, the struggles of the common folk, their pain and their hopes. Together, King Adabai and Queen Zainab ruled with a unique blend of strength and empathy. They taught Karun, a timeless lesson, that while tradition must be the roots that ground the people up, and destiny must be the branches that are allowed to reach for the sun. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales that explore the heart of tradition and the power of love. We'll see you in the next video.